everyone, welcome to Melancholy Coaching Podcast. Join me as I interview inspiring business owners and self-improvement seekers while exploring business building, monetizing ideas and practical takeaways. Let's ignite our creative potential together. Hello and welcome to Melancholy Coaching Podcast. I'm Fran, your NLP and Business Coach, and I'm delighted to welcome an inspirational guest. Kathy is a herbal remedy maker, community facilitator, and energy healer living on 25 acres in southwest Wales. Alongside her husband David, she runs community camping and healing gatherings, which sounds gorgeous. Kathy's passionate about creating herbal remedies, mushroom tinctures, flower essences, and natural skincare products. When she isn't hosting retreats, teaching workshops, or tending to the family's many animals, which also I love, you can find her foraging and tracking the changing seasons on her beautiful land. So, Kathy, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Fran. It's lovely to be here.
Oh, it's quite an introduction, isn't it?
It is. I'm like, oh, I want to meet this person.
I know. Um, so I've got just a couple of questions for you, just nice and gentle, and we'll have a little chat around that if that's okay with you. So the first one that I've got, because I like to pre-prepare this stuff. So the first one I've got for you is what drew you to the folklore? Because I did look at what you do. So, you know, some of it's framed around folklore. So what drew you to the folklore and deeper energy of plants?
So when we moved here, so we will have been here 5 years, August, and I had just started to connect with one tree. That was it. Because I found a tree at the end of, we were on like the back of the Cadbury estate in Birmingham, and not a housing estate, but where they actually live. So it's just outside Birmingham. And we had a public footpath that went down the side of our house and went into the Cadbury Woods. And I used to go along that way most days with my dogs and my children, especially during lockdown. And I found this tree that really pulled me in. And I named her. She was called Celestia. She was a very big oak tree, very big. Like you couldn't even put your arms around her, so big. And I used to talk to Celestia because I was going through quite a turbulent time. And I used to find comfort in her. She would calm me. And everyone just thought I was crazy. I'd had before that in my previous house gone and hugged a huge big oak tree that was just outside our house, but we were on a busy B road and like the number 50 bus and the number 49 bus went past every 5 minutes. So people must just thought I was crazy. So it was lovely to find Celestia in the middle of these woods and stuff. And one day I was hugging her and I felt like this, you know, like in films, you see like the whirring of the time going back and you feel like you're whirring and stuff.
Oh, interesting.
And she took me like 500 years back to how the land had looked then.
Amazing.
And I just felt like it was such a privilege,
Mm.
such a privilege. But that became a separate incident. I didn't do anything else about it. I just felt like me and Celestia had this connection, and it was a bit sad to leave to Birmingham, from Birmingham, and came here to this land. Now, in the middle of the lockdown housing boom, it took us 9 months to sell our house, and we had to drop the price, which was unheard of, absolutely unheard of. Everyone else's houses were selling really quick. And the reason I think that was is because this place where we live now didn't come on the market until 2 weeks before we accepted that offer.
Right, okay. So the timing was actually aligning you with your ideal property. You
Yeah,
just didn't know. Okay.
exactly. And we we'd seen this online, and it was two things we didn't want. We didn't want neighbours because neighbours in the past had been a bit of an issue, and didn't want a bungalow, and we wanted land all around us. So we were there, you know, like how you're trying to see on Rightmove what it's actually like. And I'm like, I'm sure there's a house next door. It's a bungalow. I don't want a bungalow. So we cancelled the book viewing of this house. And we came down to Wales, and the guy who, the estate agent that we first saw, he actually did a kind of escape to the country thing. He's like, "What are you looking for? What should we go?" And he took us to loads and loads of houses, and we're like, "Oh, I really like this one." And there was one where there was the fields were over the other side of the house, and it was two houses merged into what one house that had been split by two sisters. So it would have been big enough and everything because my mum was moving with us, and we could have made an annex. And then we went to see a different property from him, and it was one of these auction properties. Now, the Forestry Commission had gone in and bought all of these big farms, took all of the land, and left you with 10 acres and the farm buildings. So we went to look at it because we could have like made like built barn conversions and stuff. But the horrible thing was everybody in that room was wanting the same thing. So you're watching the auctioneer walking around in his white coat, and everyone is saying your same ideas, and it got too overwhelming. Plus, it was like an hour away from civilization. So if we had have got stranded again, it would have been. So I went, no, no, no. And the estate agent phoned me and he says, "Oh, where are you? I'm at that house that you wanted to see." And we're like, "Oh, which one was that? Was that the one he was talking about where he couldn't get the keys?" So we rushed over another hour, pulled up outside, and he was like, "Oh God, Dave, it's that house." Oh, well, we're here now. Let's go and look. And we walked in, and the house was lovely. And then we got into the kitchen where I'm talking to you from now. And we looked outside, and I was like, "Oh my, would that all be ours?" And he's like, "Well, even more. I said, "What would be ours?" He says, "Past the Scots pine." I'm like, "What's Scots pine?" The dark green trees. Oh, okay. Fell in love with it, but it was raining. So came back on the Sunday, walked round it, just filled my heart. And of course, we got it. But this land has never been really farmed. It's not farmable land. And it's got such a beautiful history. People used to walk along here, I believe, to go to the burial site on the other mountain. So we found Druidic stones, really quite tall ones, buried in the path and stuff. And it's got crystal going all the way through it. It's got
Oh,
crystal
amazing.
seams.
Yeah.
So there's two trees here that make a portal. And like you think, "Oh, I'm going crazy feeling this." But other people have come and they've felt the same. And I haven't told them what I've felt, but they've said the same thing. So it's kind of made me know. And I had our 15-year wedding blessing in those trees. It was gorgeous. But those trees have taken me on journeys too. Very, very weird. Like not what you would expect type journeys, but it made me understand what I had to do. So I believe that plants are very, very healing, but I believe the most healing is being able to listen to the plants themselves. And the folklore comes from people actually taking that time to listen.
There's a lot to unpack in what you've said. So, firstly, because obviously, from a coach point of view, because I'm an NLP coach, I'm very interested in the fact that you had your non negotiables in place. So, you already knew that you didn't particularly want neighbours and you wanted this and that. And that's okay because we're allowed to put those non negotiables in place. We're allowed to have those boundaries in place. The thing about the word crazy, words, we interpret words as to what they mean to us. So to some people that's a bad thing. To me, it's not a bad thing. It's just a way of describing something. So quite possibly the people passing you on the bus when you was back in Birmingham and you're hugging that tree, they might have been looking with wonder and awe. They might have been looking, thinking, "I'd never do that," or "How embarrassing," or because we never know. We preempt what people think, and it's not always the right thing that they're thinking, is it? Because
No.
and that could build towards our own limiting beliefs, and you haven't let that happen. So you've potentially thought what people might think, but it hasn't held you back. So that's a
No.
very interesting thing as well. So the whole thing about the land, I think that it was waiting for you. It was waiting for you to be there. This is going to lead me on to my next question as well, just generally about people. So for somebody who's completely new to plant healing, like the thought of plant healing, how do the folklore and the actual health benefits, how does it come together?
Okay, so one of my favorite plants is dandelion. And when I moved here, there was hardly any dandelion. Dandelion are everywhere, hardly any. So I used to have to go when I started making my magic balm and collect from neighbours' gardens and friends' gardens who hadn't sprayed. Because there was none, and you can't go and collect from parks and stuff because you're not sure. But dandelion, I was like, why am I so drawn to dandelion? And no one could really tell me. But when we was in Thailand, so we took the kids for a whole month backpacking around Thailand 3 years ago, and really taught the kids that you could actually live out of a backpack, even as a type 1 diabetic who needed all of her supplies just in case. Um, so I went to do a sound bath in Pai over a river. It was lush. And at the end, they had cards, or at the beginning, they had cards, and you could like go through them and choose cards. And one of the packs was plant energy healing. Oh, well,
Ah,
obviously, I'm going to pick that one. So I went through and I picked out dandelion.
yeah.
Like,
This is
oh,
this is another thing that's led you on the path, isn't it?
yeah,
You know, the signs have been there and you haven't missed them. You've picked up on them.
I'm very good. Sometimes it gets me into trouble, but I'm very good about listening to the voices in my head, what they're telling me. And I pulled out the dandelion card, and it said that dandelions release anger energetically,
Yeah.
which all made sense to me because as a little one, I had a lot of anger because you were unable to express yourself. So, like my middle daughter now, she really struggles with her emotional regulation, but rightly or wrongly, we allow her to express her anger because I wasn't allowed because, that generation, you
It's
didn't.
it's about I think it's about doing it in a safe environment. So I don't think that any of our emotions and our feelings and whether it be anger or peaceful or whatever, I don't think they're inherently bad or good. They just are. So having the intelligence to sit and feel your feelings and express your feelings, but then to learn not to do anything detrimental to yourself or others, that's a journey, that's a learning journey, isn't it? So
It
I think
definitely
that
is.
to sit with your feelings or to allow those feelings to happen because it helps you to process them.
I watched my dad be two different people. So he would be like salt of the earth to everyone, and then he'd come home and he'd express his feelings. Um, so I learned that I couldn't express my feelings because you get told, don't you, it's bad behavior, all of those things. And I didn't want that for my daughter. But what also it made me realize was a lot of skin conditions are unsuppressed anger or are suppressed anger. So the reason that my magic balm was helping so many people with skin conditions like psoriasis and eczema was that energetically the dandelion was helping them to release their anger. So
And this, I'd just like to say as well for anybody listening, this comes with no judgment and no blame or anything like that. If your body's holding anger or your mind's holding anger, there's no blame involved in that. It just is, and you may not even be that aware of it. So, the fact that these balms and everything can help, we've got no judgment for other people, have we? Like what they're holding on to.
oh gosh, no.
Um,
And
no.
we are taught that we cannot express our feelings. Like, if you said you were angry and you expressed your anger, you were told off. You were told off at school, you were told off at home. And there's a whole generation that has never been able to get in touch with their feelings. We held our Soulful Long Weekend for adults only, and a gentleman came along and he's like, I really just don't know if this is my thing. But for the whole of one day, he sat in his tent alone, and we're like, my God, is he okay? And he came out and he's like, I've just connected with my feelings,
Yeah.
my emotions. I've never done that. And having to wait until you're in your 40s or your 50s to do that damages your body. How much can you push down?
But I think that's because he finally felt that he was in a safe environment and he gave himself permission to do so. It's apparently the our beliefs and things like that are formed within the first 8 years of our lives, like according to brains and things, and we get that predominantly from our parents or caregivers. Your belief system can be changed, but you've got to know how to. But you things like emotional regulation, you also learn that within those early stages of life, and you learn it from your caregivers or your parents. So if they also suppress their emotions, it's no surprise that you don't learn how to emotionally regulate.
No. And the thing with inner child is as well, so yeah, that up to 7 years comes your Bible, doesn't it? That's how life is. So if you observe your parents never being able to say how they feel to other people, but coming home and then doing it in the wrong way, then
Mm.
that's what you learn. But interestingly as well, as life gets busier and busier, like my dad used to drag me every Sunday to the Lickey Hills in Birmingham. As a family, we had to go. And, because you don't understand how much it meant to him, you just think it's a punishment, don't you? Having to walk up these hills and it's
That's an
really,
interesting
really
thing,
steep.
actually, because without that piece of communication, we're not to know the reasons as to why people want to do things.
But the reason was that he came over in the Irish immigration after the war.
Mm.
Um, So, and it was no blacks, no dogs, no Irish. So the only place, unless they carried on living in a tiny cramped bed house in the middle of Birmingham, was they got a caravan and got it taken up to the top of the Lickey Hills and they were able to stay there. Now, for him, he had his whole garden as this huge expanse of greenery, and that's where he grew up. But it was never communicated to me. The reason he loved going there and walking there and taking the dog there and everything
Yeah.
was because this was his childhood home. Of course, he didn't own it, but this he knew all of the areas. He knew it all. He caddied and everything. But yeah, unless you actually tell your children stuff, you
Yeah.
grow up just thinking, oh, we had to go every Sunday. It was such a drag. And I only know this because I read his diaries, because he's gone now,
Yeah,
You only
interesting.
put those things together.
Mm.
No one ever said it. So
Yeah.
there's so much energy around what we're doing. We've totally deviated, haven't we? But the folklore of plants is the energy. So when people come on our herbal remedies, so the 17th to 19th of July is our ancestral remedies. When they come on that, my friend Holly teaches them all the medicinal stuff because that's her bag. And I'm all about the energetic qualities and feeling into the plant. And just because it says that that's the plant you need to use, talk to the plant. Is that the plant you need to use? That's the connection that we've lost for a very, very long time.
I've got a dandelion story for you. So as a child, um, there's things that are relatively traumatic in my life. Don't need to go into that right now. However, I was a bedwetter for many, many years. So that carries a lot of guilt and a lot of shame in it, because you're the one that wets the bed if you go on a school camping trip, or you're not invited to stay at people's houses, and things like that. So there was a lot of shame involved in it, and I was a fairly quiet child. Now I loved playing with daisies and dandelions and things like that, and I was told that dandelions make you wet the bed. So I think that there's something in there that, like from a herbal point of view, that maybe it flushes out your body or something like that. It doesn't make you wet the bed, but there's some kind of, there's always a grain of truth, isn't there, in these wives' tales or these labels that plants get. So for a long time, I was in almost in like can't think how to say it, maybe like a turmoil, thinking I'm so drawn to these little flowers, but I'm being told they're making me wet the bed. Um, so I still played with them, and I got over wetting the bed, and it's fine, and I still love dandelions. Um, but sometimes I think the medicinal properties in flowers and in plants and things like that we're not that aware of, but there must be some historical stuff that gets passed down, but it gets changed slightly, and it gets thought of as an old wife's tale or something like that, doesn't it?
Totally, yeah.
So I find
The
things like
thing,
that interesting as well.
definitely. And I thought exactly the same. If I touch them, I'm going to wet the bed. And like you say, it was a shameful thing. So we stayed away from them, and it's such a shame. They're still called, I think, in Scotland, pister beds or somewhere.
Oh, okay.
Because, it's so funny, the different names for them. I handle them all the time. It doesn't make me need to go to the toilet more. But what it does do is the roots work really well as a detox. So they help
Yeah.
your livers and your kidneys, which would cause
Possibly
you.
that's where you flush out toxins, so it got termed as you're gonna wet the bed.
And people, I suppose, because they didn't understand the parts. So if you're a well person and you drink plantain tea, dandelion tea, and nettle tea, that will keep you well because the nettle will cleanse your blood, the dandelion leaves will cleanse your lymphatic system, and the plantain will heal whatever's going on in your body. But because suddenly no one can do plant things because it becomes witchy, and the only people who can do plant things are the people who take them into a lab and make lots of money, then everything gets changed. And isn't it interesting that we're now encouraged to have a lawn that is have absolutely no healing property
Yeah.
other than a garden of daisies and calendula and plantain and dandelion and nettles and pineapple weed, all of the things that will just grow if you let them. But there's a £1 billion industry on weed killer.
And back in the day as well, a lot of witches were actually herbologists, weren't they? They were into herbal, or they were midwives, and they
Yeah,
understood the properties of plants. So I wonder whether some people now that kind of do more stuff with the land, whether they're more kind of on the head witch side
I
of
think so.
things, possibly. Interesting. Another conversation there, because what I'm going to ask you next is literally what's next for you. So you've moved to this beautiful property. You've lived there for a while. You've got land all around it. Some of it is run as a business. So it's a family home, but part of the land is run as a business for yourselves. What's next for you?
So in September, I'm starting to train as a herbalist
Yeah, there we
because
go.
I've sat there for like 2, 3 years now thinking, I wish I could do this. What should I do? And I
Mm,
was there at Christmas and I'm like, oh my God, had I actually just got my bottom in gear, I would have been halfway through my training. And I've found this really so in tune with the way I am with plants rather than going to a university and studying through that way, where they are all about being with the plants. It's done on some land in Exmoor. There's two in it's called the Plant Medicine School. So there's two in Ireland, there's one in Scotland, there's one in Exmoor, and there's one nearer to London. And although it's in a different country, it's not too far away from me, 2.5 hours. So some of it's in person and some of it's online. And that's absolutely perfect. I love their ethos. I love that way. And I did a lot of research and I found out that a lot of herbalists wish they'd done this route. So I'm choosing the route which has been recommended to me. And I'm so, so excited. I'm currently doing a medicinal mushroom practitioner course. So once I've done the herbalist course, I can prescribe both, but it gives me that extra insight doing into using the mushrooms that I grow and being able to prescribe them to people. And the reason I'm doing the herbalist training is I get so many people coming to me asking for me for advice, but I can't give them advice because I'm not medically trained. So
Right.
this will give me that training, that backing behind me, rather than the intuition and everything that I've learned myself. And I can get insurance and I can help people in that way because we might want to travel in the winter because my husband's got seasonal affective disorder. And I have created a blend for
Same.
him, which we're going to see. But he wants to go away in the winter when the children are old enough. So I'd still be able to see patients and everything as a herbalist. But we're also building, so finally got planning permission after 18 months to build luxury glamping lodges because people want to come to our events, but they can't be in the cold. They have got medical conditions and stuff. So this means that they can take part too, as well as the people who can camp or the people who glamp or they
That's a
come in their
big
camper
future
vans.
plan, isn't it? To do that as well.
Well, we're building now, me and David. We're halfway through.
Yeah, lovely.
We plan to have it finished at the end of this month. Whether that happens depends on materials. And then we've got another 5 to build. One will be completely accessible so people can come in wheelchairs and stuff. We want to build a kitchen diner because I think one of the most important things about coming together as a community is the eating. You can go to workshops and things, but this is where the talking, this is where people get to talk over drinks and stuff. And Wales being Wales and why it's so lush and green is it rains a lot.
Rains a lot.
So
Yeah.
being able to have our beautiful views because we're on top of a mountain and see out even in the rain and not getting rained on and not getting cold is a really, really good idea. Accessible toilets, accessible showers, so that people can come whose children need that additional support or people who need to be able it's more the children. The adults can kind of deal with it unless they're in a wheelchair, but the children need a bigger space if they regularly need to be
So a
washed.
lot of this as well will lend itself to being seasonal. Because you mentioned already about your husband. I feel him, by the way, because I also am affected by seasonal affective it's disorder, isn't it? I'm not sure how I feel about the word disorder. It
No,
gets called
exactly, yeah.
SAD, SAD. I've got a long history of depression, and a lot of it is around the seasons as well. So I use a light lamp and all the things to try and help my circadian rhythm and everything. So I get that. So part of the business that you're running, I presume then it will be seasonal. Do you stop for the winter then?
We currently stop for the winter, but when these lodges are built
Yeah.
and we've got the kitchen diner, we won't need to stop because we can still run the
Would
retreats.
you want to?
I think so. I like doing them. So when we can't run the weekend ones, we do day retreats, do womb wisdom. We did an amazing winter solstice day retreat and stuff. I like doing these things. I like bringing people together. And I think that the winter is such a miserable time for so many people. People refuse to go out. Like I run a women's woodland group. It's free. Um, Women come, only women. So this is like 2 hours a week. They escape children, escape dogs, or sometimes dogs come. But it's when they can all be together. So we do some crafting and stuff. But to get people out in the winter, especially because it's only under a covered area, it's really hard. So if the kitchen diner was made, we could come together and it'd be easier and be warmer. So yeah, these are my plans.
Lovely. Thank you for sharing. Right. So I'm going to start wrapping this up now. So thank you so much, Kathy. I feel like you've shared some wisdom with me and the listeners, so that's lovely. Um, and I'm interested to find out more about like your journey once you've got your training. The thing to mention about training is that we all have knowledge and wisdom, we just do. And if you don't think you have, it's there in your subconscious mind, like in your unconscious mind. Like we know all the things. We just do. Um, and as a business owner, it's how much training do you need to actually be that professional, to be able to do the things that you do, but you're doing it for a particular reason, because it's going to get you somewhere. Because sometimes we need to just stop, like, just another training course and I'll be ready. Just another thing to
Oh
learn and
gosh,
I'll be
yeah.
ready. You know what I'm saying? So you've got a very clear path as to where that training is going to take you and how you can then benefit your community from it, which I
Yes.
love as well. So if you're interested in learning more about Kathy and her work, your website is communitygatherings.uk.
Yeah.
I was looking for the co on there, but apparently there isn't one. It's just
Well,
.uk.
my other one is healingfromwithin.co.uk. So that's all my magic balm and tinctures and teas and everything. So there's two, rather sillily. Maybe they should just all go under my name. I don't know. But I have two websites, so I give myself lots of extra to do.
You've got a Facebook group, which is Community Camping and Healing Gatherings, which is lovely. Um, you've got a Facebook page, you're on TikTok and Instagram, and it's all Healing from Within UK.
Yes.
And that's how people can find you. Wonderful. Thank you so much. And I'm going to look up all of those. I think I'd looked up some of them already and followed you. So if you're interested in more content like this, be sure to visit www.melancholymentor.com, and that's me, and follow for the latest updates. And until next time, keep igniting your creative potential and stay curious. And go and find Kathy. Thank you very much, Kathy.
Oh, it's been lovely. Thank you.
Thank you for listening. I'd love you to subscribe and visit www.melancholymentor.com for the latest updates. Till next time, stay curious and keep igniting your creative potential.